I'm a big proponent of riding your own ride, so do as you will, but I also like to set a good example. I'm far from perfect, I know, but I think that the more I put forward a decent character and show my successes and my improvements and also my struggles, the more people might want to follow in that path too and improve their own life. That's why after 8+ years of riding and 3 different motorcycle safety courses later, I decided to do a track day and a second track day. There was a reason why I didn't initially do a track day for such a long time. First of all, when I started riding, I didn't even know what a track day was. I don't think I even considered that people took their motorcycles to the track to race them. I was just happy to finally be on 2 wheels and have my own motorcycle, and I felt that was all I needed to know. It was a scenario of not knowing enough to even know the right kind of questions to ask. Like, what is a track day? Do track days exist? But even after I found out, it was like 8 years later that I finally decided to go do a track day. But I don't think that I would go back and change anything, and here's why. I thought about track days after I started posting on Instagram for a while, but I never considered going to do one because I always thought it was super expensive. You needed to get like brand new tires because you couldn't ride the ones that you had on the street on the track as well, and you needed to do all this stuff to basically make your bike track ready. Like, you had to basically be a racer if you wanted to ride at the track. Like, there was no in between. There was just street riders and then there was racers, and if you wanted to be on track, racer was your category. And I certainly, as a college student at the time, did not have racer money. They say the quickest way to become a millionaire is to be a billionaire and get into racing. So, you know, having heard that, I didn't have I think what I estimated at the time was I would need like $800 to do a track day, and that was like on my Ninja 250. Anyway, yeah, as a college student, that was just money I didn't have. But on top of that, I was afraid that I would go down. I don't know if you guys get attached to your bikes like I do, but that Ninja 250 at the time, if something had happened to that bike and I wasn't able to ride it anymore, I was basically scared I wouldn't have my social media life either. So I couldn't post on Instagram anymore, and it was like my baby. I was scared to ruin that motorcycle more than I was to get hurt myself in a crash at the track. I didn't want to be in a hospital either from some injury I got, but I was more concerned about the bike than I was me. And when I was concerned about me, it was not like, oh, I'm not gonna be okay. It was like, oh my god, I need to be able to finish my PhD. I can't be like in the hospital. I'm gonna have to like quit my PhD. I'm not gonna be able to like write, type, use my arms, you know, like horrible, the worst case scenario possible. So anyways, with all these fears floating around in my head, I never really ended up doing one, despite being encouraged by several of my friends who had done track days, you know, that I met in the meantime. They were encouraging me to do track days, and I never followed through because of the fears I had, the time I thought it would take, and then the money it would take. The track days that I did now were a little bit different than what I had envisioned a track day was going to be. But let me just explain the experience to you. I knew coming into this track day that I wasn't going to be racing anybody except for myself, but the nervousness I felt coming into it still didn't go away. I mean, right as we were about to go on track for the first time, I remember being so nervous that my stomach was like, you should probably go to the bathroom now before you go on the track. Obviously we were in the pits, so I didn't get a chance to do that, but oh boy, I was so excited, but I was like so nervous. I was hyping myself up and I was just like freaked out that something was gonna happen. Like, for a few fleeting seconds I was scared. In fact, there was only one other time that I remember being scared to be on the bike and have to do something. The first time it happened, I was on the Harley Davidson Pan America. That was my first time off-road at all, and it was on a bike that was super heavy. I could barely touch the ground on this thing. I'm 5'4". Even with the bike lowered at its lowest setting, I was, you know, super tippy-toeing. And we were about to do some really tight turns and then go into this really deep hole, come out the other side, do another 90-degree left-hand turn, and go up a hill, stop at the top, and then like brake on the way down and do another sharp 90-degree turn to the left at the bottom. That obstacle, for some reason, like looking at the instructor doing it and then like thinking, oh my god, I'm gonna have to do that, it almost brought me to tears. Like, I actually did tear up a little bit, but I was like, I'm not gonna cry, but this is terrifying to me. You know that if you don't do it right on a bike that big where you can't touch the ground, like if that bike tips over, you're laying it down. You're gonna lay it down in front of everybody because there's no catching it. I don't have any any height on the ground. I'm very vertically challenged. And I'm thinking, you know, what am I doing here? I'm this 5'4", 120-pound girl, this Pan America for the first time off-road, and I have to do this difficult obstacle. This was like my first day on the bike. We had been on it for like 2 hours beforehand practicing like some basic maneuvers off-road, and now we had to do this obstacle, and I was like, yeah, I was scared. And then I don't know what happened. I had heard somebody say, just do it scared. It's fine. Just do it scared. Who cares if you're scared? Just do it. And so do it scared I did. I did the obstacle with Pan America and it was fine. I didn't go down. I actually did it 3 different times. You had to repeat it. And every time everything was okay. Yeah, I did it scared. So when we were kind of exiting the pits and going onto the track, I was just telling myself that same situation, just Lali, do it scared, do it scared. Who cares? You're scared, do it scared. So looking back on this track day, do I wish I had done a track day sooner? Yes and no. Yes, because in 2 days, those 2 track days that were back to back, I learned, I think, more than I had in like my entire years of riding. So it was a track day combined with a school. So you had a session on the track, and then you went back into the classroom, you learned some more things, you went back on the track, and you immediately put them into practice. So we did that for 2 days, and I learned a lot. All right, so we are back at pit race again. This is going to be track day number 2. Yesterday I got some really valuable feedback towards the end of our sessions about body positioning, and the instructor said something and showed me that it made it all just click together. So today my goal is to improve that body position and take those tips and put them into account. It was like a fast track to becoming a more competent rider. So in that respect, yeah, I wish I had done it sooner because I would have probably been way less scared on the road. I mean, it would have meant, you know, no more being afraid to lean, no more being scared if you have to make corrections mid-corner, no more being scared of braking hard. My MT-07 showed me what he was capable of, and I began to trust my bike more and myself as a rider. So that to me was the whole point of doing a track day. I wanted high-performance street riding techniques at my fingertips to keep me safer on the road, which the road is way more dangerous than riding at the track, I promise you. So at the same time, no, I don't wish that I had done a track day sooner because of the friendships that I made that led up to these 2 track days. Let me explain. I think if I would have done a track day earlier, I wouldn't have had the in-depth instruction that having an instructor with you on the track and then going into a classroom setting afforded me. So I did these 2 track days with Lee Parks and his team of instructors from the Total Control riding course, and I have their book. One second, I'll show you. I basically got high-performance street riding techniques from this track day with immediate feedback. So we had instructors riding behind us to tell us, hey, work on your body positioning, hey, work on your trail braking, hey, lean more, hey, go faster, hey, be slower. You got immediate valuable feedback that I don't think most people get if they just sign up to do like a regular track day. Like nobody's gonna sit behind you on a regular track day and baby you and tell you what you're doing wrong. So we just got done with the second session on the track, and the first session was more about showing us the race lines. The second session was about practicing trail braking while also following the lines, and the second time I got moved up a group because the group I was in was too slow for me. Woo! I got a little bit more confidence into the second session, and I just kept telling myself that, Lali, don't worry, Spicy Boy's got this, he's got this traction, you just go, just steer and go. I'm always scared that I'm gonna go into a corner too fast and, you know, have to brake too much, low side, go on the grass. But none of that happened yet, so yeah, let's see how the third session goes. I imagine it would have been like a more balls to the wall scenario where you're just go and, well, if you learn something you do, if you don't, you don't. So it would have been more of a figure it out on your own type of day. And this track day was track day plus school, and you learned about suspension setup, traction, trail braking, body position, speed, line selection, and eyesight.
So all you got to do here is measure the shiny part of the foretubes. And do it in millimeters, so 120.
And we also learned about this transition into our sponsor for today's video, Flying Eyes. Now when it comes to eyesight, it's important to have comfortable glasses if you're riding with them like I do. This means that you need glasses that won't create pressure points at your temples. These ones are not it. You really shouldn't feel your glasses when you're riding. I've been riding for almost 2 years now with this pair of glasses, and they make both sunglasses and prescription pairs to suit every different type of rider. You can also turn your prescription lenses into sunglasses with these handy magnetic clip-ons. Both the glasses and the clip-ons are very flexible flexible. They're made from this aerospace polymer called resiliamide, and that's what makes them bendy and virtually indestructible. I mean, I ran over this pair of glasses with my motorcycle and they didn't break. So if somehow these fell off my face at the track, if I went down, I'd feel pretty safe that they'd be okay if somebody ran them over, or that they would shatter in my face. One important thing to choose about a pair of glasses that you're gonna ride with is that they go in your helmet smoothly, easily, and where you put them is where they're gonna stay. So they're not gonna move around or slide up and down no matter how much your head is bobbing around. They're always gonna be here on the bridge of my nose, and if I want them, like, let's say a little bit lower, they'll stay there. A little bit higher, they'll stay there. And these thin and flexible side frames won't create pressure points at your temples, which used to be a huge problem of mine when I wore the other glasses, which are not designed for riding motorcycles at all. There's more details in the description, and you can use code Lali to get 10% off at checkout. Whew, let's get this helmet off my head, it's hot in here. Oh yes, praise the helmet hair. Okay, so one of the best things about this track day was that it was free, yes. So my worries about track days being super expensive kind of just flew out the window with that one. But another thing, one, you don't need to buy new tires to go to the track. You can ride on your regular street tires as long as you have enough tread. Obviously, your tires would need to pass a valid inspection, and they can't be super old either. So I think our track didn't want tires that were more than 4 years old. So that's like $300–400 savings on tires, plus whatever it would cost to get them installed, that you don't have to worry about. And second, if you're in Pennsylvania and maybe some other states, you'd have to check with your own state's Department of Transportation. Some safety courses are free, including, for us Pennsylvania residents, the advanced ones that are coupled with a track experience. Basically, your yearly motorcycle registration pays for these programs in Pennsylvania, so there's no reason for you, if you ride a motorcycle, not to go do one of these courses. You're essentially paying for them. If you're out of state, I believe they're about $300, which is still a good price for a track day, especially a track day coupled with school. Typically, if you're going to go and have school coupled with a track day, it's much more expensive. The most recent price I saw was $850 for a track day with school and $350 for a track day without school. But this is obviously going to depend on your local tracks. I recently did a third track day with Aprilia just a few days ago, and there I met another instructor who actually wanted to start a program for street riders to transition to track riding, and the cost for that he estimated was going to be just $45 a person. Really affordable. So I was so happy to be progressing throughout the day and hearing the feedback from my instructors. I started to feel myself, easing into corners, and I felt excited for the corner to come up instead of fearful. I couldn't wait for the next corner because I was excited. I knew where the line was. I knew where I had to start looking into the turn. I knew when I had to start turning into it. I knew where the apex was and where I had to be closest to the inside of the corner, and then I knew where I had to exit, and it was just a pleasure to be there and to lean the bike over. The bike wanted to lean with me. It was all so fun. I can't even help but think of that one phrase where it's like, oh yeah, sex is nice, but have you tried? Have you tried track days? So I want to show you that this improved my riding and helped me go from, someone that was afraid to lean over her bike, or at least do it properly, to someone who erased her chicken strips and now knows how to be safer on the street. I will also take one praise I heard today from Lee Parks himself. He came up to my motorcycle, he looked at my front tire, and he said, damn, and I will take that to my grave with me forever. But motorcycles have helped me overcome my fears in more ways than just one. I mean, okay, let's be honest, you have to be a little bit fearless just to ride a motorcycle to begin with. We're all daredevils on the inside. So that's one way. But they have so much more to teach than just getting over your fear of riding one. They taught me about myself because they kind of brought to the surface the multiple times that I have doubts in myself, and they afforded me the opportunity to see that those doubts were unwarranted. My imposter syndrome is real, you guys. I've definitely mentioned this on my channel before in a previous motovlog. There's a term for it. It's called catastrophizing, or catastrophizing, I can't say it correctly, which basically means that you see the worst scenario playing out in things that you're afraid to do. And of course, the worst scenario almost never happens, but the brain is just programmed to think of that worst scenario. And if you let that go unchecked, it can really hold you back. It's okay to see the worst scenario as long as you acknowledge it and move on past it. But sometimes, in my case, you see the worst scenario and you end up not doing a track day for 8 years. So I'm definitely guilty of this. I'm sure I will be guilty of it again in the future. But at least when it comes to motorcycles, I'm starting to realize that I am enough. I am good enough to do a lot of things that I'm initially fearful of, even the ones that bring me to tears.
All right, this is my second session on the track. We got, oh my god, I got like pieces of rubber. I'm starting on the front too. Guys, I'm so excited. This is great.
And these realizations are starting to spill into my real life too. So I can be afraid of something and still do it scared and be fine on the other side. So I can't really thank this hobby enough for giving this kind of gift to me. Do a track day, improve yourself, it's worth it. And with that, I will see you all in the next one. Bye!